So Kailey, thanks for being willing to talk to me about Canlock today. Before I mentioned the product Canlock, had you heard of it?
I had not. No, I was not familiar with the brand.
So when I mentioned the word Canlock, what were your expectations of what it was going to be based on the name?
Based on the name, it definitely sounds like it's some kind of a storage like solution or a storage container, especially in the context of cannabis, like cannabis and lock. It does kind of imply that it's like sealed, you know.
Mm-hmm. Did it meet or exceed? Did it meet, not meet, or exceed your expectations when you opened it up and started trying the product?
I think it definitely like met my expectation, if not exceeded it. Especially in the first couple of days. I have been trying these out for about a week now, and especially like the smaller size was one that I was like, oh my god, this is perfect to put in my little stash bag because it totally fits. So especially the first couple days, like trying them out, they were a lot of fun. Just to have on hand too, because it is nice to kind of take it out of the bag situation and actually have something nice and protected to put it in.
Mm-hmm. What do you currently use? Are you using bags or something else to store?
Right now, I'm pretty much just using whatever it comes in. A lot of the time, the jars that like the cannabis I buy is in jars that are protected from the light in some way, and a lot of the time they are, of course, they're childproof, but of course then they also do have some sort of an air seal to them.
You said they're childproof? They're childproof?
Yeah, in California they have to be. When they sold in a dispensary, all of the flower that's sold has to be in some kind of childproof jar. I would say that like the closest thing to the Canlock is the Corova jars that they're doing, because they're around the same size. They have a very like kind of similar, not airtight at all, but they have a very similar like overall feel to them. So that would be one of the things to kind of maybe look at, is having a childproof option, because that is so prevalent in California, but it's not like a necessity.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Now, with the word lock, did you expect there to be a lock, or what did you think of more as the mechanism is the lock?
A little bit. I did kind of expect almost like when you're pushing down like some kind of a click, or some kind of like an auditory like locking, sealing, sort of a like a sound or a cue. So that was one of the things I was a little surprised. Is I'm like, okay, it's not like locked like a stash safe or something like that. But I mean, definitely the whole vacuum seal approach is really cool. So I get where the name comes from. But especially I think being from California, I was like, oh, maybe it's like a childproof, air vacuum thing, which is not something I have to worry about.
Mm-hmm. So in California, I know when it's sold, it has to be childproof. Does it, when it's reused, have to be childproof, or just the initial transition out of the dispensary?
Just the initial transportation out of the dispensary. At one point, they were making everybody use these ridiculous childproof bags, because truly it was going from the store to the customer's home, and then it really doesn't matter how you store it when you get it back here to the law.
So based on your experience using it in the last week, what did you like? And then we'll talk about what you didn't like about it.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. So right off the bat, I really, like I said before, I really like the size of the small one. In particular, the large ones were great as well, but I am somebody who only tends to buy about I'll buy an eighths of multiple different products and then kind of go from there. So one of the things that that I thought would be very helpful would be to have some sort of a labeling situation on these. Because most of the time when I have bud in here, if I put it in the wrong place, or it gets mixed up, or throw a bunch of them into my bag, like all three into my bag, it can get a little confusing. So I was thinking like if there was some kind of a labeling option or a color coding option, just for like keeping like your sativas and your indicas
Mhm.
like
Would that be
separate,
like a
even if
like
they're
a
very
like a rewritable one, or one that it just comes with and it stays the same, like it's blue or pink or whatever?
I feel like you could go either, because with the writable option, you are giving like the people like myself who have 3 different sativas and 3 different indicas on hand to have that accuracy, because I have indicas I like for nighttime, I have indicas I like for daytime, and so on and so forth.
Hmm,
Also,
that's a good idea.
yeah, and also color coding would be great. It just for a more general, like gray, blue, green, your hybrid sativa indica or whatnot. And also this is kind of out there, but like with the hydro flasks, they have this rubber boot on them that essentially protects it from when you set it down too hard, or if you're trying to move quietly. That was one of the things I was running into with these, is I would set the bottom down pretty hard accidentally on glass surfaces, and then I feel like the whole neighborhood would hear. So any kind of like a little like rubber boot accessory that would fit both of them, that could also be color coded. People could get more like personalized with their little jars. So that was kind of one of the things I ran into, was just they seem a little delicate, so just the like setting them down, throwing them in a bag, they did kind of clink around a little bit, so it would be nice to have that dampen sound and protect it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's some great feedback. Thank you. Anything else before we move on that you particularly liked, that made you think, oh, this is advantageous over what I'm doing now?
I think definitely just the whole like vacuum sealing effect in general is really great for peace of mind and for the actual bud. I think like it did keep, because generally what's sold in the bags is like your $20 stuff. Like it's cheaper, it tends to be drier and a little rougher overall. So that's been keeping like my cheaper flower really, really nice. It's keeping my more expensive flower really, really fresh. So I appreciate that it's prolonging the life of my product, because I spend a lot of money on that. So I want it to stay in the condition that it's meant to be consumed. One of the things that I did run into, I think it's on this jar. Actually, no, might have put it on this one. I love the fact that the jar lids are interchangeable. So you can put your quarter on your eighth and your eighth on your quarter or whatever. However, one of my lids did stop airlocking, and
The bigger one? Was it the bigger one?
Yes, yep, it was one of the bigger ones. Sorry, I have a little bit of a congestion from the allergy going
Okay.
on.
Take a drink or do whatever you need to do to feel comfortable, Kailey.
Do have my water right here.
Okay.
So that was one of the only things that I kind of like found a bit irritating, is when that stopped working, because I think it was like halfway through the week of using it, and I decided to use these like everyday jars because they can be. So I also went ahead and I put all of my joints in there and everything, and that has been really lovely. It's keeping everything super fresh, so it's really good from a rolling perspective, especially from a blunt perspective too. Keeps everything from drying out and getting a little nasty.
So there's kind of 3 people that you might be talking to about this. There's your customers, there's your inventory manager, the decision maker on this, and then there's your colleagues and your friends. Talk to me first about, how would you describe this to a fellow bud tender or friend that uses cannabis?
I think that this would be one of those things that you keep in your stash bag and you like pull it out and they're like, okay, wait, what is that? So it is, I think it's one of those things that I do have certain people in my mind who buy like half an ounce at a time of whatever, and this would be perfect for them because it takes it out of the bag, it makes it reusable packaging, and it also is going to keep their stuff a lot fresher, a lot longer. And right, I would, I think personally I would definitely bring this up like,
Mhm.
look at this kind of like weird new accessory I got, da 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 da, just to get like their general opinion on it, because a lot of my coworkers have been in the industry for like 4 times the length that I have been, um, but I think it's something that's worth their time, especially knowing a lot of my coworkers' personal consumption habits, um, and the way that we receive product as well. I would have killed to have this when before all the COVID stuff happened, because we were getting samples of our product, and those all came in these tiny little jars. So this would have been perfect. Put all the SFVOG in one jar and be done with it. So especially for our shop, those would have come in handy.
So tell me about your shop specifically and
Mhm.
how this would have been helpful for your customers.
For customers, I think actually my mother pointed this out right away. These are great sizes for people who have hand disabilities, people who have hand difficulties. They're very easy to grab. They're very easy to open, and a lot of the packaging is not geriatric friendly whatsoever. Like I mentioned earlier, everything comes in childproof jars, and sometimes that means you're spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning a lid. It's just like pills you have to push down. It's just not feasible for quite a lot of older people who come in.
Mhm.
Um, and so this would be an absolute recommendation, because when when your nephew brings you in and you're both standing here together, he can open the packaging, put it in grandpa's jar, seal it up all at home, seal it up, and he has like peace of mind that granddad can actually access his meds. It's also, I think this would come up for me personally when people are looking, like I said, at the cheaper options, and they're looking at the crappier storage options that come along with that, because nobody really wants to put their bud in a bag that you can't seal all the way. So they would definitely come up with the folks who are investing in kind of the cheaper stuff. How much were these?
Well, I was going to ask, let's say they were anywhere from like 18 for the smaller one and
Mhm,
22, 23 for the bigger one. Does that
mhm.
price point feel right for both bud tenders and, on a bud tender salary, as well as for the customers that you're kind of talking about that would benefit from this?
I think that's around the right range. I think I would probably, personally, I was thinking that it was more around like 15 for the little guy, and then more like around 20 for the bigger guy. So it's right in the same ballpark. And I don't think that's unreasonable, especially because that that is the price of a crappy eighth before tax. So that's a one-time purchase, and you're basically kind of saving yourself down the road. Um, Especially for those who like to buy in bulk, because we have companies like Farmer and the Felon that do really big discounts when you buy an ounce or a half ounce. So it does come up.
Mhm. And if you were talking to, what's the title of your decision maker on on what products you carry?
Inventory manager.
So the inventory manager, how would you communicate to him or her why your store should carry this particular product?
I would definitely say like this would be something that's worth having, even if it's on a trial basis, just to see if people are interested in it. Um, with the way that our shop works, like we don't really push accessories or anything like that. That is one of the reasons that they stay so far in the back of the store, front of the store, back of the store, away from the customers essentially, and you only see them on your exit. I think that this would be something that either people would be coming in looking for specifically, or something that bud tenders would be suggesting. I don't really know if it'd be one of those items that people would just like naturally gravitate towards as they're walking out the door. Like the packaging is really, really nice and really sleek and minimalistic. But it would be like, if I'm talking to my inventory manager, I think it would be like, hey, this is a product that we don't have anything for. This is like a completely new product for us. This addresses a need that like we don't have a solution for, and it's in a price point that will sell for our customers, and I think that in of itself is worth carrying it.
Do you think that it would be the driver of suggesting higher bulk purchases? Or like, is there any incentive for the store to carry something like this from a financial point of view?
I I don't think so, mostly because the way the shop works, it is on an eighth basis, and it's not really on a half ounce, or like we're not really a store that does those deals or those discounts.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't be, because I am an impulsive buyer, and as soon as I got these, I was like, I need to go buy a quarter to put in here. And then my wallet told me no. So with these guys, I'm sure other people would feel that same, like, oh my God, I gotta like fill this jar up. But just with the flow of our shop, generally that's not going to be an option unless people are, of course, buying which they do, like half ounces of like Pacific Stone, like $18 eighths or whatever.
Mhm.
But
Um, yeah, no, that's really some interesting insight. Now, is your dispensary like deli style, where you can like pick out and smell something, or is it something where everything is kind of in the back and you just give it to
you're like, what does it look like? I can't see.
them?
Um, we had to hybridize with California. You're not allowed to do the chopstick style where you smell the jar and then they pick straight from it like they do in Oregon. We have to have everything pre-packaged when it enters the building, which means what has ended up happening is we write off product to put into jars that look startlingly like this, and then we let customers smell those samples until the stock is gone. So the samples do end up getting like dried out. They lose their terps, they lose their va-va-voom and the appeal that they once had. So that's kind of how it goes in the store, because we still want people to be able to interact with the flower that they are spending money on.
Mhm. Now, you showed me an example of the packaging that you typically buy in. If
Mm-hmm.
that product came in this kind of a package, what would that say to you about the product?
That is a great question. I think personally, when there's like a very fine line between what is a company doing wasting that much money on something that doesn't equate, like if the package is nicer than the actual flower, there's something wrong, right? That's just kind of obvious because you're spending money on the wrong thing. When a company does good flower and they put it in an attractive, hardy package, that just communicates good things about that brand. I have actually kept on to, I have so many jars around me, sorry. I have kept on to these Kurova jars for probably about 4 years now. And it's because I can reuse this over and over and over and over again. I put a Bovita package in here, and it's about the closest thing I can get to the Canlock.
Hmm. What
But it,
do you
mhm,
like that, like in terms of a hierarchy of appeal,
mhm.
and you've got the Kaviva, the Canlock bags, regular jars, like how, is there some sort of preference level, like certain flour goes at certain price points goes in one versus a premium goes in another? Like how does that work, kind of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and part of it has to do too with the way that the flower was cultivated. Because one of the things that we see in cannabis is we see tinted glass, right? And tinted glass is for a specific type of flower. And there's a whole hierarchy in how tinted the glass should be for sunflower and this and that and a whole other thing. And it all has to do with UV rays. So generally a $35 eighth is going to, that's like your bending point, $35. It could come in a bag, but it's probably going to come in a jar. That jar, this was a $35 eighth. So that jar is child proofed. It's very easy to get into. It is not tinted. It is their like UV protection comes from the sticker that wraps completely around the product. A $20 eighth, and I've thrown all of that packaging away. They come in bags. They come in generally like thinner than sandwich bags. They're generally very difficult to open because you have to really get in and find a tab and pry it, and so on and so forth. And then into your like 50s and up, like your 50s to your 60s, you're looking at more like this. Your jars get bigger. They start coming with humidifier packs in them. So you have your temperature controlled. And at that point, not only is your flour looking really incredible, but then you have packaging that's actually worth hanging on to and reusing again. So it again like justifies the price point. But if a $20 eighth is coming in a nice heavy glass jar, that's just a disconnect.
So are there certain brands or products that you think would be a fit for this type of a jar?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Canlock, like which brands or which products at what price point does it seem like, yeah, that's a good fit?
I think so. People who buy outside of dispensaries are probably going to want this product, right? Because there really isn't a whole glass jar situation at all, and you need a storage solution. So that is somebody who's going to pick this guy up, right? And then you have like actual like legitimate brands. Farmer and the Felon, they do really nice bud. It's like $25 to $30, but it comes in a bag. And something like that, you know, they actually go to support a good cause and all this and that. It's really quite a cool company. But something like that I would put in here. Pacific Stone would be another one. They're cheaper flour, but you can buy half ounces at a time. Again, that would be ideal for this. I'm trying to think of who else right now is doing like bagged. Oh, High Grade Farms, companies companies that do smalls. Generally, it's nice flour, but it comes in bags. So it's just kind of that same theme in my head.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So in terms of the space at the dispensary, these are sold either in boxes of 50 or boxes of 100.
Mm-hmm.
Given the kind of store and traffic situation, is that realistic, or does it lend itself to being a higher number or a lower number?
It's a really good question. I feel like a dispensary bringing on 50 of them might seem a little intense, especially for the smaller stores. Our foot traffic on a day-to-day basis can range anywhere between, like on the absolutely dead days, 100 people. On our busiest days, we see about 500 plus people.
Mm-hmm.
With that fluctuation, and of course this being an accessory that doesn't have a shelf life necessarily, which is great, bringing on 50 at a time might be a little intimidating. And for those smaller spots, having an order of like half of like 25 might be ideal, because that's how our buying manager works. I've known her for a long time, and she'll go for the smallest amount that she can when she's trying something out, just to kind of test the waters. So I guess it comes down to what works out for Canlock, but yeah, it might be worth it to have a smaller option.
Okay, well, now let's take a look at the websites. So I'm going to pull one up and share my screen. Share my screen.
Yeah, I was checking out their website earlier.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I saw that they're also carried on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, it's me.
Yeah, you're seeing yourself. I'm just we want to look at a few web pages, so I've put them in my my tabs.
Yeah.
So this is the corporate website.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you looked at the corporate website or the personal website.
I think I looked at this one.
Okay, so this is the one. There's the Stash Plus, which is the bigger one that you received. this regular stash, and then there's a mini that there's
Yeah.
out of. What do you think the rules are, if any, for these different products if your store was to carry just one?
I definitely think that it would be the 8 grams. That would be the smaller, the mid size, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that that would be the one to try out. That or the 4-gram jar, simply because it does fit the 8th, option. Oh, and mini joints. That's funny. Or this medium one size here, because it does fit a full like pre-roll. I don't know if, especially for the first time, like buying and receiving and trying out the product with our customers, I don't know if the full size one would be as like attractive.
And of these ideas, the smell proof, protecting, and durable, and the other benefits that you mentioned, which are most compelling to you?
They're all great. I like the reusability of it. Seeing that it was like, you're able to dishwasher once everything's empty, you can dishwash it. That was really nice just on my end. And also the smell proof aspect. That is, I think, in action, that is the most exciting part, because I do take my bud with me everywhere, and I'm used to like opening my purse and it just being like, pfft. So
the portability and the reusability sound like they're in some ways more compelling than the durable and protecting. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that. And okay, and as a bud tender, do you get educated about preservation and the role of freshness as part of your education?
To some degree, yes. We definitely learn about the degradation of cannabinoids and terpenes as time goes on. It's been a while since I've gone through my training book, but we definitely go over like what happens when cannabis is stored improperly, that sort of thing, the harmful side effects to storing things wrong.
Okay, great. I want to just have your reactions to any other parts of the website. So this, let me see. So this is just what customers are saying. Let me go to the next site. Okay. So how was your experience with the pumping of it?
With the pumping, I definitely think that's one of the things that I would love, like, I think this is the broken one. I would love like the auditory, like clicking or like popping or something once it's completely vacuum sealed, or even on every single depression, just to know when it's fully depressed. Because I actually went on Instagram and like watched people just to see how far down the depressor gets before it fully stays down, because I wasn't sure if, at first, basically where it should sit. So it would be super helpful to have something just as a cue to be like, okay, this is locked, so on and so forth.
Okay, now I know you mentioned clear versus the need to protect from UV rays, and so needing it to be colored. Do you see these designs, these 5 design options?
I do.
Okay, which do you think would be best for your store and the customers if you were to carry like number in order 1, 2, and 3?
I think we would probably end up carrying like the black. I think that would be one of the more popular, just because it is very discreet. And then it would probably be like the gold and the rainbow, or the gold and the blue, or something like that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And what about the clear? Compared to the clear, where do these fall?
Without any kind of like a labeling system, I would probably use the clear ones right now the most. And then after that, like the black one. Okay.
All righty. I want to be sensitive to your time, Kailey, because you're
fine.
such a favor. Are there any other things that you have comments on or thoughts on based on your experience and your, the conversation that we've had today?
Yeah, I just overall, I really do like the design of it. I think it is very sleek. I think it is very, like the overall feel of it is really nice. I think that there are just a few little kinks that need to be worked out as far as like the overall like lid goes, especially because it gave out on me at half a week into it, and I was trying to use it like I use my regular jars that I've used over and over again. So that would be my only thing, and maybe having like just those other options, which it sounds like they're looking at if they're doing Instagram polls on colors and stuff. Just looking into the tinted options, and with those, making sure that they do block UV rays, because that's kind of the whole point on not being able to see your flower. So that would be, yeah, that would be kind of my only thing there.
Okay.
Yeah, but overall, it's a great product.
Well, terrific. Well, thank you so much for being willing to talk